All righty. Chris Alexander joins us, Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group, and they're working real hard. Chris, how you doing?
Good. How are you, my brother Moon?
Man, for a big dummy, I'm hanging in there. All right.
You did a great job on Bongino, man.
Oh, thanks, man. That was a blessing. So Louisiana legislature offers up private property to green energy gods, and this is right up my alley. Tell us, start from the beginning, what happened, what the legislators have brought up now, and it's all with this new green stuff. Let's talk from the beginning.
Yeah, 2009, Moon, Representative Jim Morris brought a bill in the legislature that basically proclaimed that it's the policy of Louisiana to allow private companies to expropriate the land of Louisianans in order to build and transport what's called captured carbon dioxide. So you capture carbon dioxide from these oil refineries, and then they store it in these, they put it in these industrial pipelines that are going to be constructed across Louisiana landowners' lands, and it's going to be stored underground, oftentimes under the ground that belongs to these landowners. And the problem with the bill is that it creates what's called a statutory presumption in favor of expropriation. So rather than the burden of proof being on the oil companies to explain to a court why this is in the public good to be able to take this property, the burden of proof is on the landowners. They have to pay a bunch of money to go into court and try to keep these oil companies off their land. It's really, really a bad bill, and it really abuses what's called the doctrine of eminent domain. And I just couldn't believe it when I looked at the number of Republicans who voted for this. So that's 2009. And then it comes back up to 2020, okay, 8 years, 11 years later, whatever it is, and Senator Sharon Hewitt tweaks the bill, and it basically says the same thing, but simply affirms the right of private companies to take private land in order to build these carbon sequestration pipelines across people's lands. And it's not proven to work. It's all climate change stuff, big green energy stuff. They're trying to reduce climate change by capturing this carbon dioxide. The problem is it doesn't work, and the studies have shown that it doesn't work. And the facilities themselves that are supposed to be capturing this carbon are run on uranium.
Hey, Chris, are you leaning on your cell phone? It's going boop, boop, boop. It's like
no, I didn't. Sorry, I didn't do that. If I was,
yeah, it's still doing it.
Okay.
It's just I don't know what it's doing.
Look, bottom line is, Moon, these carbon sequestration facilities that they're going to be building to try to capture this carbon, they themselves run on uranium, which is going to be producing all kind of, emissions into the air that would offset any good that the capture of the carbon would be doing. It's just not well thought out. I think it's a money grab by big energy companies because of Biden's $12 billion that he appropriated in his plan for these carbon capture projects. And it's an opportunity for them to go in there and make a bunch of money on things that are probably going to do nothing to enhance the environment.
I was going to ask you, how is this enhancing the environment, and what are people saying about putting this under their land?
Well, they had a huge issue in Livingston Parish just last week, and Buddy Mincy helped this thing get out of the Natural Resources Committee, and they were up in arms in Livingston because they've already decided, I believe, that they're going to be trying to do this on property owners in Livingston Parish, and it was not good. It was not a good scene out there. They were very upset about it, and I can understand why. There were only 2 legislators who voted against it, or did not vote for it, and that was Sherman Mack and Valerie Hodges. Everyone else down there supported this.
Let me ask you a question about this, because it sounds horrible. Is this something that, and I'm just going to ask the question, is this something that most people, I always talk about they don't read the bill, and somebody's, this is a great deal, it's a great deal. Because what happens is, By the way, I'm not making an excuse for him. Chris Alexander respect. What happens is they say, oh, vote for this is a great bill. This is a great bill. And you got, if all companies are big business people, they look at all this federal money coming out, and they want to make their share, the ship has come in. And they tell people this is a great thing, this is a great thing. So you say, well, if it's a great thing for energy, we'll do it. And you vote for it. They just vote for it because they really don't pay attention to it.
It is, Moon. That's exactly right. They really didn't pay attention to it. They didn't pay attention to the fact that no oil is being produced in this project. No carbon dioxide emissions are really being reduced based on the studies that have been done. And they create a statutory presumption that allows them to go in and strip these people of their property rights in order to build these things. It's just terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
Talk a little bit about the property rights, how they strip it. Because I'm trying to be real basic here, Chris, for people that are listening going, what the heck did they do?
Well, they go in and they offer the landowners some money in order to take their property and build these pipelines on their property. And if the landowners don't want to go along with it, then they forcibly take it and build the pipelines. The landowners have no choice in the matter because of the way this law sets it up as Louisiana policy. It just says it is Louisiana policy that it is in the public interest to build these carbon capture pipelines on Louisiana on the land. And so they don't have any choice in the matter. The best they can do is hope to negotiate a decent price. And if they can't do that, then they have to go into court and fight that. And people have disagreed over whether they're getting market value for their land. So that's another issue. But the core issue is that people should have a right to make a decision about whether or not they want to allow their land to be used for this purpose. And this law completely takes that right away from them. And I think that's a problem, and I think Louisiana landowners are going to be very upset about it. The ones in Livingston already are.
But yeah, the ones in Livingston are the ones that I think got a grip on what's going on. But I think Valerie Hodges and, Crybaby Mincy, and that's his name, cries about everything. He's a big teachers union guy, but he's got that R by his name because he could never win without having R by his name. And that's what's starting to bother me. The R's by their names are screwing the country and the state up. But here we go. We're going to elect somebody again. Attorney General's running as an R by his name, underneath running as a Democrat. That's the problem. Those Republicans are destroying. They're killing us. They're hurting us.
They're killing us. Those 23 you mentioned in the last segment.
Yeah. Yeah, they ought to be beat. They ought to not even have a chance no matter what they run for. But if we're going to reelect them, they'd expect the same results.
Well, that's exactly right, and that's why our advocacy group, Moon, is in the process of exposing. I think Mincy is hurt. I think Mincy has taken several hits from us and others lately, and I think he's got serious problems out there as far as running for state senate. I really do, because he stood up in front of this big council meeting and tried to explain why he voted for this, and it was horrible, and it was just not a good display on his part.
Well, people like Mincy and John Stefanski and all these people would just do the right thing. Go become a Democrat. Don't run on a Republican level. Run as a Democrat, because everything you're doing is such a liberal leftist movement. Run as a Democrat. I have more respect for it, but they can't win. So they got to run as a Republican.
They can't win that way.
No, they can't win that way.
That's right, Moon, and that's why our focus is to show their constituents what they're actually doing in the legislature and not what they're telling them they're doing. We've got to do that, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, Chris Alexander, we're going to take a break. Stick around, Chris. We'll be right back and talk a little bit more about this. And this is the kind of stuff that passes that everybody just says, well, I didn't know that's what I voted for. Well, read the damn bill. How about that? Chris Alexander, of course, Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group. We'll come back and wrap up with him. Welcome back. Microphone Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Chris Alexander, my special guest, Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group. Before we get back to Chris, I want to mention about our friend at Unlock Physical Therapy. I'm starting to see more physical therapy ads pop up all the time, but let me tell you something. Kerry Lampkin, I know him personally. Kerry's the real deal. His staff is just like them. Their job is to get you back to moving around, to get you out of the pain that you're in and get you moving around. And the way you do that is go see them. Let them figure out what's hurting you, and you don't need needles and shots and drugs and all that stuff. Maybe all you really need is somebody to do some adjustment on you. And I'm not talking about chiropractor here, and I understand they're good too. But this guy finds out the problems and gets you working again and gets you back in the game. You can be a young athlete, male or female. You can be a professional athlete, a college athlete, or you can be just like me. Old guy just likes to go fishing, but you got to stay healthy to get up and down in the boat. Maybe what your hobby is golf, or maybe your hobby is singing in the shower. Either way, you want to feel awful good. And the way you do that is to make sure your body's intact, and that's what Carrie Lampkin can do. Carrie Lampkin, Unlock Physical Therapy. That's the name you need to know, I promise you. Unlock Physical Therapy is ready for you and to get you back in the game, even if you're not playing a game. Here's the number. 484-3056, 484-3056. Call Jennifer. Tell them you heard her on the Moon Griffon Show. Folks, you're going to be glad you did. All right, Chris, your article, Louisiana Legislature offers up private property for green energy. Now, here's my question. If there wasn't so much federal money rolling out there causing all our prices to be skyrocketed up, do you think anybody with any energy company would be even messing with this if they didn't have federal money and federal money sent to the states to go hand out to people? Oh, Chris, you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. I asked the question. We weren't quite ready. That's my bad. Listen, do you think if there wasn't so much federal money, and it's going to be billions and trillions, and so much investment because they're going to get these federal dollars and federal dollars that go to the state, do you think any of these energy companies would even be looking at this?
Of course not, because it's not even they're not motivated by any desire to improve the environment. They're motivated by money. Just the initial outlay is $12 billion in Biden's Green New Energy Plan. They're going to make a bunch of money, and to answer your question, they wouldn't even be thinking about doing this if there wasn't a whole lot of money to be made. And Moon, let me make this final point here. All of this carbon capture stuff is predicated on the idea that there's a significant connection between human activity and climate change.
Wow.
And there's a whole lot of scientists out there who are increasingly saying there's not. That human activity does not have an appreciable effect on it. But none of these questions were asked during the debating process of this legislation. What are the Republicans down there for who are supposed to be representing our interests if they're not going to ask the hard questions on bills like this? That's the problem that I have with it. They just don't ask tough questions. You're talking about depriving people of their property rights, and these bills sail through the state legislature.
Yeah.
And I don't consider that to be acting in the best interest of Louisiana citizens.
Yeah, you're correct. It bothers me that people are buying into such a big lie, such a gigantic lie about we're going to save the planet, but they are buying into it. And people are, we got guys, and they say I'm supposed to call Representative Orange, but if he wants to be on the program, he can. They got a guy that introduced a bill where he's going to be able to take their family company and bring windmills and the boats to take the big windmills out there so they can put them in the Gulf.
Yep.
They pass their own bills, and they're going to make a ton of money on it. Yet everybody else is saying we need to do this. And if it wasn't federal money involved in it, nobody would be involved in it.
No, they wouldn't. They want to make money. There's no doubt about it. They're enriching themselves down there, and it's deplorable. But Ogeron, you're right. That bill, he will make money off of that bill because he owns the company that's going to be transporting the super feeders, that transporting the components on his super feeders. It's a direct conflict of interest. Nobody asked about it.
No, that's what I'm saying. They were told they would vote because I had really good elected officials that they've got in touch with me to get on the phone with Ogeron. I hadn't called him. He's welcome. That's like I do. They want to call. Come on. But I'm going to have a problem believing they passed a bill that the company, I don't know if it's a family company or something like that, going to make a bunch of money. And the reason everybody's getting, listen, let me give you an example. You and me got money. We don't. I know we don't. But let's say we had a bunch of money. And we know that we got this money. If we invest in this, we're going to get so much money from the federal government to help us. We're going to make our money back because the federal government's going to help us to force people to go do this kind of crazy stuff. I think this is one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
That's right. That's right, Moon. And some of these legislators, honestly, a number of times they've said, we didn't really know what the bill said. We didn't really understand the bill at the time. Well, my position is if you don't understand it, don't vote for it.
Yeah. I've always said that. Why would, just like we got constitutional amendments, people vote for them and they don't even know what the amendment says, and it's going in the Constitution. I would vote. If you don't understand it, I'm out. Now, somebody said, well, you didn't vote for this. I didn't vote for this because I wouldn't explain to me the proper way. But why don't they, they rush a lot of these bills at the end of the session. They rush them when nobody's paying attention, Chris. All right, Chris, your article is in the Hayride. They go to hayride.com. What else? Give out your website for your group, too.
www.lachg.org. www.lachg.org. And we have it all up there. And thank you for having me on today, the Louisiana Legend.
All right, brother. Thank you. We'll talk to you later. All right, folks, that's it. 21 hours. We're back. God bless. Have an awesome day.